Okay, T-5. I had a triple header earlier in the week, and I was going to call this a double header, but I guess this is really a triple header too, because not only is it a junkyard unit and a standard, but the customer was going to try to leave the bell housing and the clutch. He had the clutch zip tied in here, and he wanted to leave everything. So anyway, battery died. He wanted to leave everything with me, and I'm like, no, I don't need any of that stuff. I didn't even want him to leave the shifter, but he's like, oh, I'm gonna lose it. Well, you're gonna lose it less frequently than I'm going to. I got too much crap for this to be left here with me. Whenever you take a unit to somebody, that is a carry out, which I hate carry outs to begin with. Take all the stuff off of it, because it's going to do nothing but get lost. If you can't remember where it goes, in today's day and age, there's no excuse. Everybody's got a damn smartphone. Take pictures of it. 13's on the bearing retainer. Thirteen's on the shifter. Thirteen on the speed sensor. Seven eighths on the light switch. Fifteens on the tail housing. Try not to lose that tag that was on there. That tells you everything you need to know about this tranny. If anybody asks for those numbers, that's where they'll be. Don't forget that grommet that goes on the shifter. You get to put that back on there. 10 millimeters on the shift tower. There's two dowels. One goes here and there. Some of these, depends on what model you have, there'll be a switch up here. Check your bearing retainer, make sure it's not all grooved up. Everything looks good there. There's a roll pin in here. I'm gonna have to drive that out. Make sure it's in neutral. I believe this is 1/8 of an inch. No, 5/32. It may be too big. It'll be okay. There's a spring and a detemp ball underneath there. And we should be able to pull the tail housing off now. Here's our spring, our ball, and our pin. Okay, looking okay back here. There's a oil slinger that goes in the back of the counter shaft. I may just leave it in there for right now until I find out what all we're going to do. Okay, it's coming out easy enough. I'm going to go ahead and take it out. Well, it was. There we go. Okay. Have a clip down here. Clip here. Okay, may or may not have to get a puller out to pull this gear off of here. I'm sure we probably will. So I'm going to have to get my puller out, pull that off of there. There's another clip here. Let me get this off and then we'll be back. Okay, we have a ball that goes on there. It keeps that from turning. We have another roll pin here. We have a snap ring down here. Need these type of pliers. Have a retainer. Now, with any luck, this will all slide off. There we go. Try to keep these from flying out. Put this back in neutral. Okay, now we can take this off. Alright, we got pretty good rounded edges here. That's going to grind and or pop out of gear. You see the teeth are fairly rounded on here also, which sure pads are okay on our fork. Fork looks okay. So we can probably leave this on there for right now. Pull our race out. Bearings are looking pretty worn. Okay, pop our cover up. I'm gonna slide it over and come up this way. I knew it was one of the ways. Okay, our forks look okay, our pads look okay. These are not snapped off, nothing's messed up there. Okay, this has a cutout here. We can turn our input shaft down to there and pull it out. We have rollers and a washer back here. I mean a bearing. Our input shaft is iffy. It depends on what they're going to run in the back of the crank. If they're going to run a bushing, we can probably polish that up and make it work. If they're going to run a bearing, there's no way a bearing's going to stay working on that. So probably going to be putting an input shaft in it. Okay, gear looks okay. What I'm going to do at this point is going to just kind of glance at these sliders and gears because everything feels pretty good. Of course, the reverse is always going to look like that. You can run that, that'll work just fine. We're going to look at the teeth like we did on the other gear as far as the slider and on the gears themselves. And if they look okay, probably do not need to replace them. Let's see how easy everything wants to come off of here. As this guy bought this at a junkyard, it's going in a 54 pickup. And if he's not willing to spend the money that it takes, I don't want to make more work for myself by having to put this back together. So third gear looks okay. Slider looks okay. Oh, and this is a world-class T-5. So the parts are a little bit more expensive on this thing. Second gear looks okay. First gear looks okay. So it looks like input shaft, fifth gear, our counter shaft looks okay, and the bearings feel real nice. There's no need to take all this linkage out of there. All you're going to do is make more work for yourself. You do have to take it out if you want to change your reverse gear here. There's really no point unless it's chip teeth. They're always going to look rounded like that because it's not synchronized, and that's just the way, the nature of the beast when you got something that's not synchronized and people trying to put it in gear while they're moving. So let me see what this guy wants to do. I know we'll probably get the rebuild out of this, and we'll be back for the rebuild on it. Take your counter shaft out. You just bend these tabs up, pull your bolts out, pull your races out, and then you can tilt this up out of there like we did that right there. To get your reverse idler out, you can actually leave this in, turn your linkage right here, pull this shaft out, This is spring loaded right here. You can pull your pin out right here, pull your pin out back here, and the gear will come out. I don't see no point in doing any of that, so the spring just came off, so we can go ahead and pull our fork out. Okay, let's see what this guy wants to do, and we'll be back. Alright, we got the go ahead on this T-5, so we got the parts finally showed up, so we'll finish taking this thing apart. So you can use a puller, or you can use a couple heel bars here, and you can push this off. Okay, our synchronizer is looking a little rough. Gear still looks okay. Got a caged bearing. Got a spacer and a snap ring. Washer, our gear, cage bearing, another washer, and snap ring here. See how this one is. This one's like a spiral ring. Let's see here. Well, you're being difficult. Got to get in behind this thing. There we go. And just walk it off of there. Well, not quite all the way off. There we go. Alright, now our 3-piece synchronizer will come off with the washer. Okay. Now, on this side over here, we're going to have to press this gear off. I have a snap ring here. Let's see if our bearing wants to come off with a couple heel bars. Otherwise, we're going to have to put a bearing splitter on it and either use a puller or press it off. This one's coming off easy. Alright, gear goes with this lip up. Our bearing, our gear, cage bearing. Alright, in order to get this off, we have to take this collar off. There's a pin that goes in that keeps that locked in place right there. Three-piece synchronizer on this side again. Okay, there's no need to pull this off of here unless we're going to replace it, and we're not going to. So I can just wash this up and we can start assembling that back together. The only other thing we have to do is to get the counter shaft out of the case. And in order to get the counter shaft out, we have to pull the bearing off of the counter shaft, and then it'll allow us to tip the counter shaft up out of there. And get the bearing off of it, and then we'll lift the counter shaft out and we'll start assembling this back together. Okay, on your bearing out here, you can take you a pair of dikes and just clip the sprag rate or bearing race, pull it up, get the rollers out, clip the other end, pull this off, rollers will come out. Then you can take the counter shaft and just lift it out of there. On the bearing race on the front, it just knocks out. Okay, I do not have a camera over at the press, so anything that needs to be pressed on is going to already be pressed on. The front bearing is going to already be on. The bearings on the counter shaft, you can do the same thing here. You can split the race, get the rollers off. That'll give you room to get a bearing splitter on here, and then you can suck the race off of here. So this bearing's going to already be pressed on. This one is not, because you need it off to get it back in there. But anything that needs to be done on the press is already going to be done. Sorry, you're not going to be able to see that. There is a magnet down inside of there. Go ahead and clean that all up. And we'll see you back for the rebuild.